know what it means. We would know what it means to touch a flower, our neighbor, the world, but most of us, we would know how to touch our own heart. If we are gentle to ourselves, I think nothing can go wrong. So here at Toastmasters Toasted, let's take gentleness as well as an overview emotion or quality into our Toastmaster being. Good evening, dear Toasties and dear guests. It's very exciting to have so many guests tonight with us. And I hope you will enjoy this evening. We always put our best foot forward. I would like to mention our Sophie. She is our SAA, designated SAA, but unfortunately she just fell ill, and our beautiful Justine, VPE, Vice President of Education, together with Jen, has taken over in no time. That is teamwork. Thank you, Justine. Wonderful. So Sophie just managed to have a highly accoladed appearance in Grahamstown at the festival, at the Grahamstown Theatre Festival. She gave wonderful performances, and one speaks about her. And soon we will speak about her as well, because from the 22nd to the 27th of August, she will perform in Cape Town. And I really invite you all, I will come back to that, but I really, really want to invite you and us as a club to see her and to go and applaud her. And then I would like to mention another very important person this evening. It's Verity, our wonderful world champion. She has been voted, or she is going to win another one, but she is voted to one of the 10 top 10 award for gender equality. Is that right, Verity? Do I say that right? Perhaps you want to say yourself, you rather explain yourself. For
it's a very
for
strange
the whole
award.
Say again?
It's called the Gender Mainstreaming Awards. Not a very inspiring name, but it's for equality in the workplace, and it's a continent-wide award, and there's various categories, and someone nominated me for as a positive role model, and I'll find out on Friday if I have won the Southern African level of it. I'm in the top 10, so we'll see. And that's Dominic screaming.
He's applauding you. He's not screaming. He's applauding you. We have a little bit of a change tonight in the speaker, in the succession of speakers and evaluators. I would ask you, please look at the revised agenda, which will come up in the chat box. If you please have a look there. And then we come to another very important part of our evening, and that is welcoming our guests. I would like, in the moment, I'm not even able to see all of you, but let me pick out one lady who's spoken just now a little bit as well. It's Meena. Meena comes from Bangalore in India and is joining us tonight. And I think it's just such a wonderful, inspirational move of her. So first of all, you are applauded for being with us. And you are a Toastmaster in India as well, Meena.
Yes, Toastmaster Gabriel. I am Associate VP at Toast and Tales, Bangalore, India.
And how did you find out about our club?
I was looking for clubs across international clubs. I wanted to network. I wanted to know how other clubs are functioning. And in one such place, I came across your club at Toastmaster International's website. And I gave it a try. And I'm very thankful to you, Toastmaster Gabriel, for having me here tonight.
Oh, lovely. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Meena. You are so warmly welcome.
Thank you.
And then we have Imam. Imam, can we spotlight you perhaps? We have as well.
Hello, sorry. I was speaking and I forgot that I was muted.
You have got a beautiful picture there. Is it possible to see you in person, or is it in the moment not so convenient?
I'm a bit in the dark right now, so maybe next time.
You are in South Africa?
Yes, I am. I'm in Cape Town.
Yeah, okay, good. Then the darkness is always forgiven. Not to the government, but if we sit, like that without any light around us. Be warmly welcome, and we hope you will have a nice evening to see what it's all about, the little peep.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
And then do we have Lauren Hammer. Lauren, are you there? Here she is. You have to unmute yourself, please.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Lauren.
Just keep it on for 2 seconds. My lighting is terrible.
No, but you look beautiful and we see everything. Lauren, I love very much when you say, you need to find the right words. You need to lose your stage fright. That's why we are all here. Thank you for your honesty, because it shows us which direction we communally want to go. And have you ever been to Toastmaster, or is this your first time?
It's my first time. I mentioned it to, and I see Shireen is on the call. Hi, Shireen. She's my coach on Future Females Business School. So yay, that's how I got invited, because it's one of the things that is a problem for me. Speaking.
Okay. You will lose it here. We all lose it. We get
I hope so.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Shireen, and all the members of this club for inviting permanently guests. And we are growing with leaps and bounds. I would like to come to the next part, and that is speaking a toast to South Africa and its speakers. That is a custom at Toastmaster. If you like, you can unmute yourself. Maybe you have a drink in your hand. Maybe it's water. Maybe it looks like gin. And then we would like to propose a toast and say, to South Africa and its speakers.
To South Africa and all its speakers.
This evening, we have our beloved John Lynch, our secretary, EXCO member, to be our Toastmaster. So a warm welcome to John. Take over the evening with gentleness, because that's how you are.
Thank you. So as the previous speakers have said, today's theme is the value of gentleness. And gentleness is defined as being considerate, kind, amiable, mild or soft. To be gentle with someone is to treat them with care. Now, the opposite of that is to be harsh, severe, mean, rough, bossy, bullying, and commanding. And fortunately or unfortunately, as a law enforcement officer, I have been trained on how to be commanding. And I can be pretty good at being commanding. But I also was taught at the FBI Academy that most of the time, the best tone of voice is a gentle tone of voice. Because when you are being commanding, you are pushing people. And what do people do when you push them? They push right back. And I don't know if you can tell, but when I'm in this commanding mode, it's not very gentle. My stress level is going up, and maybe your stress level is going up. And if I want to influence you when I'm talking to you like this, it's not going to work, because you can't really think clearly when you're highly stressed. On the other hand, if you are gentle with people, it shows respect to them, it calms them down, calms you down, it slows everything down, and hopefully you and the people you're talking to can develop a rapport with each other, and you are able to influence them. And as Toastmasters, we are hopeful that our words will influence others. So both John Lynch, me, and the FBI recommend a gentle tone when you're speaking to people. So to start us off, someone that we hope will be gentle is our counter. And that person is Paul, but I don't see Paul out there. Are you there, Paul?
Well, John, I just arrived just in
Hi,
time.
Paul.
Yes, good evening, everybody.
Would you like to tell everyone gently what an counter does?
Well, I will try to be soft, but very hard. Hard in the fact that it's in fact to help people to improve their skills and not to be harsh on them. So the counter will count the pauses which are too long, the filler words that we are using and that we should not use, and just in the matter to try to improve everybody's speech. And it's not to be harsh, but it's just a willingness to help improve everybody. So I will look for the filler words, the and, the buts, the so, you know, and the I will count them for you. Thank you, John.
Thank you. And Nicholas, would you like to tell us about what you will be doing as the grammarian and listener, please?
I would be delighted to. I cannot share my screen, so I will just paste in my word of the day, which is benign. So the meaning of benign is to be gentle and kind. That goes with our theme for this evening. And the other word, which is a noun, is benignity. And benignity is to show kindness or tolerance towards others. So used in a sentence, Toastmasters normally have a benign audience. And let me use benignity in a sentence. Fatherhood brought out the benignity towards his fellow colleagues. Benign benignity. Back over to you, John. And you are on mute.
Our first evaluator tonight will be Michaela. Michaela, would you like to tell us a little bit about Julia's speech?
Of course, I'm glad I got here on time for Julia's speech. The title of it
actually changed around.
Okay, are you not ready? We can.
So are you able to?
I can be ready, but I like the idea that Shireen is starting. It's because it changed on the paper. It's up to you.
So Shireen, would you like to go? Shireen and Michelle, are you willing and able to go next?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Let's throw lemons and catch them.
So
Okay.
the revised agendas come out, and I think Shireen's first, and then Julia, then me.
Okay, I've got it. Sorry. I'm trying to be on.
Can I speak up?
Gabrielle,
Because there's a lot of changes in our agenda. Sophie is not available, and we have, since Michaela is not ready yet, she requested actually to move her schedule to the second evaluator, and we immediately changed so late already. But if it's okay, the speaker would be Shirin, and Chantal will be the evaluator.
Okay, Chantal, are you here?
I am indeed, John. I just want to confirm, please, is Shireen delivering the first speech, receiving feedback, or has she already received feedback and she's incorporating it?
We have the agenda. I sent it to our toasted group.
I see
Shireen,
it, Janet, but Shireen is reflected as an evaluator on the second agenda.
So
well,
Chantal, I have had speeches before and I have received feedback. I'm on level 3.
And I was supposed to be taking 2 roles, speaking and evaluating, but now I'm only speaking.
All right, wonderful. In that case, I'll be happy to introduce Shireen's speech. And Shireen is speaking this evening on her 3rd project within level 1 of the Pathway Presentation Mastery. And this is, I believe, still the evaluation and feedback segment of this level, in which Shireen is delivering a speech, receiving feedback, and then applying that feedback to a subsequent speech. She has 5 to 7 minutes in which to achieve this objective, and I look forward to hearing you speak, Shireen.
Thank you so much. Before I get started, I'm going to take a leaf from our dear, and I want to see if she is here. I just want to check, sorry, from Claire, what Claire did last week or the week before that in terms of asking for feedback. I am going to put a survey into the chat if you don't mind to get feedback from everybody. This speech is something that I'm building on in terms of being a keynote speaker and living out my purpose in terms of creating happiness. I'm ready for my speech. Good evening, Madam Toastmaster, and good evening to all our fellow Toastmasters and guests. Create happiness. There's a myth that happiness is only accessible to the rich, the famous, the talented, and the most hardworking. But success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. The truth is, we're all very capable of creating our own happiness, and it starts with our mindset. The secret to being happy is knowing that we have the power to rewrite our narrative of what happiness looks like, what it feels like, and what it smells like for us. The magic begins when we realize that happiness is a choice. It is not a result, and that nothing will make us happy until we do the work and choose to be happy with who we are and where we are, while we are working on where we want to be. Today, I'm going to create an acronym out of the word create. Let's start with C, curate. A common misconception about personal development and mindset is that it's all woohoo and airy-flairy and up there. Your well-being and your happiness is certainly not woohoo, but I do get it. After years of conditioning that always busy is best, it can be difficult to switch off and do something like go for a walk, be quiet, be still, read a book, or do 15 minutes of meditation. But for me personally, personal development and creating a life filled with happiness is more practical and it's productive than most people will think. I would like to add it's also achievable. Here are some of my tips. One of them is that I love journaling. The beauty of being able to journal is that I can write and write about the way that I'm feeling. I can write and write about my frustrations, my anger. I can also bitch and moan when I'm writing and nobody's there to hear me. The second thing that I love doing is breath work. And yes, some people look at me and go, breath work? But don't we breathe every day? Yes, we do, but we don't breathe effectively. And magic happens when we breathe effectively. The last tip that I have for you today is setting boundaries. What is your no? What is it that you want? What are the non-negotiables for you in terms of how you want to live your life and what you want to achieve? Because the only way that you can be happy is when you are intentional about the things that you want to achieve. So back to the woohoo and the airy-fairy. As much as it is about journaling, breathing exercises, and setting boundaries, it's also about assessing our daily habits and what we do in order to reach our full potential. For example, wasting time is all too easy, and most of us do it for hours every single day. Why do you do it? We need to modify how we spend our time. R is for responsibility. Personal development is not just about you. How many of us put off self-improvement goals because we don't want to be seen as a me person? So many of us are givers, we're lovers, we're leaders, but we can't be those amazing things if we're not helping ourselves. It is in helping others that we become better. But what if you could get to the next level in giving and serving by putting you first? Personal development is personal, but personal development is your responsibility. You cannot rely on anybody else for your happiness, because guess what? You can do good things. You can be a good person, and you still can benefit from improving your mindset and prioritizing and taking responsibility for your happiness. The E is for evolve. An article in Forbes magazine once said, your inner dialogue will either fuel your success or prevent you from reaching your full potential. This is so true. So often we can be our worst enemies. We all possess that inner critic voice that fills us with judgment or controlling thoughts of who we are. In psychology, it's often called negative self-evaluation. Now, I've spent many years, well, the past couple of years, trying to recognize my inner critic and change my inner dialogue. Being honest about my desires, being honest about my emotions, being honest about my values and my expectations, my dreams, my fears, and honest about how I am now and where I want to go in the future. Because when you're honest, great things happen. Okay. I'm not telling you to be your own judge, because let's look at what it says in the dictionary. A judge is a public officer appointed to decide cases in a law of court. So what I'm saying is, don't put yourself down. Don't live your life in shame or in guilt or in stress. What I am saying is that it is okay to decide. It is okay to evolve. It's okay to decide what your state of happiness will be for the next chapter in your life. It's okay to decide that you are no longer happy with the bare minimum or the mediocre. It's okay to look at the evidence, and it's okay to be gentle on yourself. The A is for assess. We need to continuously know who we are. We know a version of ourselves that we were taught by educators, parents, classmates, romantic partners, bosses, and the list goes on. We know a version of ourselves that came into existence because of circumstances at home, at school, at work, and in our relationship. But here is the question. Who would you be if it weren't for the narratives of those around you? Who would you be if your circumstances were different? I ask these questions because you've got to know yourself to improve yourself and create your own happiness. So this month, it's my birthday month. And the older I become, the more I realize that if you put your identity and your personal development into someone else's hands or build your life around your circumstances, you will be sorely disappointed and always long for the person that you could have, would have, should have been. I don't know who needs to hear this today, but some of us need to take our personal development more seriously and not just talk about it. It starts with rewriting your narrative about who we are versus what we want to become. Take action. That's what T stands for. When life throws you lemons, throw them right back. How many of us go through life drinking lemonade and making lemonade from the lemons that life throws us? I'm all for making the best out of every situation. However, what do you do with it? Do you decide what you want? Do you get laser focused in terms of the plan? And do you stick to the plan? Because that's how happiness is going to be created. Create your happiness. It takes time. It takes patience. You don't see the results immediately. Sometimes you don't see results at all, but persevere because it's in your control. Focus on the things that you can control and say no to the things that are not within your control. When life throws you lemons, try and make some lemonade out of it. If not, add a bit of sugar to make it a little bit sweeter. Evaluate. You don't need to be happy all the time. Most people will not admit when they're feeling down, because the society that we are living in at the moment is obsessed with being happy, positive, optimistic all day, every day. But the reality is that there's so much going on in the world, and that affects people's emotions and their state of the real life that they are living. A study by the American psychologists found that social expectancies not to feel sad are associated with people's increased negative behavior and depression and anxiety, and reduced well-being. According to the Australian social researcher and psychologist, the obsession with happiness not only leads us to discount both the present and the value of the challenging and painful events that we are experiencing, but it also makes us feel inadequate when we fall short of the ideal happiness state. Life is full of ups and downs, people. We got to be gentle on ourselves. There is a time to be happy and there's a time to be sad. And if you need to know this, we need both of those things to be a balanced human being. So when all else fails, evaluate the situation and make the decision around your thoughts. My parting words for you today are, these are a couple of ways of cultivating hope, which can lead to happiness. Some people seem to be more naturally hopeful than others, but the good news is that we all have the ability to strengthen our hope muscle. Here are 3 ways that you can cultivate hope. Focus on your strengths. Continually remind yourself about how amazing you are. Focus on your confidence in order to get through whatever comes your way. The second one is focus on the things that you can control. Too many times we focus on the big picture, climbing Mount Everest, but we don't realize the small mountains that we get to on the way and what we have achieved. Curate your social media feed. My last tip for you today. Social media can help us feel more connected. It's wonderful, but it can also increase our feelings of anxiety and stress. Surround yourself with hopeful, optimistic people and situations, online and offline. It's time to change your narrative, everybody, about being happy all the time and embrace the color and the vast emotions that come from simply being alive to face another day. Start being benign towards yourself. Do you want to create happiness? Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. I'm actually feeling much more benign about myself and hopeful after hearing your speech. Thank you. Michaela, you were one of the people who, when I first joined the club, who was very benign to me. So thank you for that. And would you like to go next and introduce our next speaker, please?
Of course. Thank you, John, for that. I'm very excited to introduce Julia. I can see that she's getting some props ready, so I'm already on the edge of my seat. She's completing a level 2 and understanding her communication style. She's focusing on innovative planning. The title of her speech is Traveling Leave You Speechless and Then. The purpose of this speech is to inspire you to all travel. Thank you, John, and good luck, Julia.
So welcome, Toastmaster. Welcome, everyone who is in this room. Traveling leaves you speechless and then turns you into a storyteller. I'm very seldom speechless, but it took me my lifetime to become a storyteller. Am I a better storyteller than anyone else? Possibly not. There's just one thing. I'm just doing it. And lucky me, it's my profession. I love to invite you to come with me on a small journey. And I love to invite you to take a journey for yourself and to find your speechlessness while traveling and become a storyteller with travel. So there are 2 ways of traveling. First, it's the personal travel, it's the personal journey. Second, it's a traveling to beautiful places and having beautiful experiences. I just thought about it a little while and then I realized actually both are the same. Going on to a travel with yourself and going on to a travel to other places. The question I like to ask you is, what is actually travel? What does it mean to you? For me, it means living a better life for myself and becoming a better myself. And of course, becoming a better storyteller. What does storytelling mean? Storytelling means sharing experiences, sharing moments we had with other people, and of course, coming back to the travel. Travel means to meet new cultures. Travel means to be happy. And that is what we all want to be, right? We want to be happy. We want to survive. Okay, I know that's not a very positive word. And then we want to look as good as possible. So storytelling actually not only let us feel good, storytelling let us look good as well when we master it, especially when we share the stories with our children and the ones we love. When we go out in the world, and let's just imagine we take our suitcase, and you see I got my hats here, we actually change a little bit our identity as well. So when we go to the bush, I take my travel hat. When I go to the city, I take my city hat. When I go to the beach, I get my flower in the hair. So why should we travel? I believe there is a responsibility we all have. And the responsibility is to be an ambassador to this world. Only when we meet and get to know each other and understand each other, we are actually able to be compassionate. We are able actually to create peace on this planet. We actually can love ourselves, and not only ourselves, we can love other people for who they are without judgment. And that is so powerful. And it helps us on our personal journey, it helps us on our business journey, and it brings us to a place where we don't know. So the destination is actually where we want to get. I like to share 3 stories with you. Let's call it 3 experiences I come back to. The first one is before travel, the second one is while I'm traveling, and the third one is after the traveling. Usually when I first start traveling and I meet some guests, or I'm just with myself or with my family, everyone is excited, we don't know what to expect. The heart jumps, the heart is pumping, I go to new places. And just with making the choice to travel, I'm already happy. While I'm traveling, and sometimes I don't know what's happening, but when I sit at the fireplace, for example, and the elephants come across in the bush, or when I'm sitting at the beach and I hear the sound of the waves and hear the breeze from the wind touching very smoothly my skin, and I can read a book in silence, and then I'm actually speechless. Or when I'm going for a hike into the mountains, and then all of a sudden I meet people on the way, I connect, going to villages, especially in Southern Africa. It leaves behind an experience and a feeling I can't have when I'm sitting at home, feeling sorry for myself, being not to get connected to the world outside. All these experiences connects me to myself and of course to the world outside. And then when I come back from the travel, I'm coming back to my community, I'm coming back to the world I was before. And there's one thing, especially me, when I travel as a tour guide. I know everyone who traveled with me, or I travel with myself, the world is not the same it was before, because I did walk the path and made the experience and the effort to become a better me and to give the world the best version of myself. And then I will share the stories from the beach, reading a good book, or I share the story from the elephant who came to our camp. I know I touch the heart of everyone and their hearts start jumping and everyone else makes plans to go and travel. I invite you to pack your bag and your luggage and travel. Become an ambassador of your dreams, become an ambassador for yourself, and be the ambassador in this world for compassion, love, and just for be happy. Traveling leaves you speechless and then turns you into a storyteller.
Thank you very much, Julia. You have me excited to go on a benign trip to the rodeo now. So thank you for that very benign speech. Next, Daniel, would you like to introduce Michelle, who is our next speaker?
Yes, give me 1 moment. And so I will be evaluating Michelle, who is on the dynamic leadership, level 2, understanding your communication style. Her speech is what moves you. And so Michelle, without further ado, what moves you?
Fantastic. Thank you. It's the leadership style, not the communication. Not this time, next time. Okay, fantastic. Wonderful. I am ready. Values are like fingerprints. Nobody is the same, but you leave them all over everything you do. Elvis Presley. Good evening, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. You are either born to lead or you are born to follow. I do believe that I'm the former. Bossy, sometimes, opinionated, often, caring, always. I believe that my pushing through had something to do with the fact that I had to elbow my way through a family of 7 siblings. And to crown it all off, I was the smallest. I exerted my voice and I demanded to be heard. I learned to lead myself from a very young age. But leadership is so much more than the badgering of your way up and through. I have journeyed through the fruitful, winding, and often treacherous parts of poor leadership. Unfortunately, I was led by a handful of men who led with a draconian style of leadership, with intimidation and fear. And it happened so often that I adapted my style to commanding the respect. And frankly, I was convinced that my position demanded it. Fortunately, and by no coincidence, I found myself free from the shackles that bound me to the life of poor leadership. Yes, I was free to lead with mastery and joy, empathy and love, free to flow and free to fly. Leadership is always about influence. It's never about perfection. Nothing in life ever is. It is authentic and actual, honest and honorable, brave and bold, burdensome, yet servant-hearted. We have all been moved by the leadership of artists, musicians, policy makers, politicians, sportswomen, sportsmen, royalty, and often individuals who have either executed purely or brilliantly delivered. I was recently reminded of a musician who in his own right had such a powerful influence ahead of his time that it gave me goosebumps just thinking of him and the feeling of appreciation when I recently watched his performance. Who am I referring to? The great, the one and only, the hound dog himself, the king of rock and roll, Mr. Elvis Aaron Presley. I grew up in the early 80s with vinyls being played on my dad's artisanally crafted LP player, mesmerized by the sultry sounds of his voice and the cries of untamed women screaming his name. I was moved to shake, rattle, and roll, and at a very young age, I swayed my hips to the rhythm of his music that moved me. In the words of Elvis, some people tap their feet, some people snap their fingers, and some people sway back and forth. But I just sort of do them all, I guess. For me, this quote is the depiction of what leadership is, the multi-movement of all things in a wonderful rhythm of influence and direction. The power of his spirit and the power of his presence, doing what others dare not do, and often against the better judgment and the scrutiny of many. The risk, the on-the-edge, borderline, crazy decisions and choices that led a simple yet very talented man to become the most iconic musician of all time. If that is not the power of influence, persuasion, and leadership, then we are only misguided by the cool sounds of the rock and roll legend himself. I am now more aware than ever before by what motivates me and how we will choose to be led by what moves us. I am by no means an icon or a celeb or a rock and roller, but I resonate with the power that the spirit has. And often, too often, we are confused by the illusion of what it really means to lead with all you are. Every leader will motivate, challenge, develop, and they do that in different ways. The corresponding styles can all inspire outcomes. Inspire, that's the word right there, to energize and set in motion. Do you want to be regarded as someone who has guidance and persuasion? I do. I do like to be the captain of my sails, and I'd love to lead my crew into the sunset. I want to inspire someone who has so little and lack of self-belief that I want to encourage them to realize that they were born for a purpose. My actions need to be nurturing to better serve others. I want to motivate by empowering the thoughts and to encourage them to know that anything is possible, to actively listen, to show sympathy and commitment to building up and to help navigate the crocheted blanket called life. Remember, my friends, benignity is free and authenticity is powerful. If you cannot recall the lyrics of the legend himself, then I encourage you to remember this. Values are like fingerprints. Nobody's are the same, but you leave them all over everything you do. My name is Michelle Page. I am an altruistic leader, and my challenge to you is, what would you do if you did not have a risk of failure or fear? Go on, be like Elvis, and do what moves you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. You know, my wife's been playing a lot of Elvis lately, but the song she keeps playing over and over to me is "We Can't Go On Like This with Suspicious Minds." So I'm hoping she's not sending me a message.
I love Elvis.
So we're going to take a 20-minute break now, but two quick things before we take a break. Daniel is going to put the three himself and the two other evaluators into a breakout room, and they're going to talk with each other and give each other input for about 10 minutes. Is that correct, Daniel?
Yeah, so I'm going to make a breakout room. If you're one of the evaluators, I'm giving everyone the option to join. So if you're one of the evaluators, if you wouldn't mind joining the room, yeah, I think that's the easiest way to do it.
And then, so we'll come back. How about if we make it 12 minutes after 7 o'clock your time? Does that work? And then real quick, I'm going to give you some homework if you have a dog, because one of the things we do at the FBI Academy for law enforcement officers who have trouble with a gentle tone of voice is we lock them in a room with a tone of voice puppy dog. And for a full hour, they have to use a voice that gets that puppy dog's tail to wag. So if you have a puppy dog, please go make that puppy dog's tail wag, because if the puppy dog tail wags, you've got a gentle tone of voice. So we'll see you at 12 minutes past 7. Bye.
So for the evaluators, is room 1 open so that you can join it?
I'm not seeing an invitation, Daniel.
Okay,
No, it is there now. I've got it.
okay, wonderful. Yes, all right. Okay.
I was asking if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but of course you didn't hear anything I said, so I could have said anything.
Yeah, you could have said anything. I'd have forgiven you.
It's
Chantal. Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
So, I do not know how to say your name, Sabatin. So, and Mina. So this is just for us 3 evaluators for this. So we're just going to work on the evaluation. So if you wouldn't mind just jumping back into the main room, and you can take like 20-minute break until the rest of the meeting starts. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you, let me see. I don't want to press remove because I'm not sure if that'll remove you from
I'm not able to get back to the main room. Could you help me with that?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. Sorry, this is my first time making a breakout room. I'm gonna try to remove you. Hopefully that won't kick you out of the meeting, but if it does, you can just join the meeting again.
Yeah,
and I'll
no
let you back in.
problem. Okay.
All right. Sorry about that. All right. Yes, I have no idea how Nick did all the stuff that he's doing, because just doing the Zoom meeting alone is a full-time job, I feel like.
Yeah, good job. I mean, I couldn't do it, especially after a long day.
Yeah, it can be quite stressful. But well done, Daniel. We're here. We've done it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're in the room.
All right, wonderful. And I think that they got back into the main room. So I think basically the idea with this, if I don't know what you guys know about this, is just for us to be able to discuss the general stuff that we got from each speech, be able to give everyone ideas and feedback on the evaluation.
Sure. Would you like me to go first, since I evaluated the first speech?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so generally I have been in these breakouts before, and what we usually do is I'll go through the points that I've identified as positives and any areas or next steps or advice that I have for the speaker, and then get input from everyone. But I really, really loved Shireen's speech. It was so engaging and energizing. It's one of the few times I've wished there were more space on that evaluation form block. So I'm going to have to send her a separate email with all of it in it. I think particular strengths were that really powerful and engaging opening that she had. Mm-hmm. She really kind of hooked you right from the start and gave some really practical examples for how to take control of your happiness. Creating the acronym with CREATE, I think, was quite effective. The curate, responsibility, evolve, assess, take action, and evaluate. Mm-hmm. Also really powerful reminder of the fact that happiness is not, or success is not something that is passive, that you actually have to take responsibility. And for me, that came through as a theme throughout her speech, that this is not something that you wait on or wait to happen to or discover somewhere, but rather something that you have an active role in developing for yourself. And then gave some practical tips on just how to do that. From a speaking perspective, I thought her use of language was really powerful and evocative. She articulated it really beautifully. gesture was appropriate. I loved her frequency and ease with leaning in so that it felt almost confidential and intimate at points, especially where she was giving advice and asking questions that required reflection from the listener. And the powerful call to action at the end in terms of, what are you waiting for? Grab it by the horns, since this is a Toastmasters meeting. What I think she could have done to take it even to the next level, I'd like to give feedback through two lenses. Firstly, from a Toastmasters speech perspective, the eye contact, if she had elevated her notes so that she could have that connection more with the audience, I think would have been helpful. The second point, I think, relates to the second lens that I'm talking about. She could bring in more pacing and make it give more of an opportunity for us to really reflect on the points that she's raising. But I think she tried to condense her entire keynote into the 5 to 7 minute slot, and that's what impacted that. Because what would have been really powerful is if she'd had a story to illustrate some of the points she was talking about. She made general statements like, we always take it seriously, and why are we so obsessed with happiness? And a really short story would have really driven that connection with the audience. So I think those are the things that I'll give her as points of feedback, but I'm keen to hear what other thoughts you may have.
Definitely think you nailed it there. I mean, my only things were just, I don't want to be devil's advocate, but I can see that this, from her other speeches, she was either not as prepared or wanted to say a lot in her speech, because she was just getting a little bit nervous towards the end. And you could, I mean, like when she started talking about breath work, like her voice started going quicker and stuff, and then she wasn't actually breathing herself. So it just kind of made it like hard to relate, in my opinion. And then I think she's also learning, because I think one of her critiques when we first started was that she didn't do hand gestures enough, and now I think she's overcompensating for that. So then like it's like a lot of the things and like hand gestures that are not needed, so then the impact of her words goes away because everyone's just focusing on her hands. But I mean, I really always enjoy her speeches. Like I just think that this was the one time that I think maybe nerves or amount of content made her nervous to try and finish all up, because also the time wasn't showing on her screen, because I don't think Jenith logged it. So I think then she started getting nervous, because I could see then that's when she started looking more down.
Yeah,
Thanks, Michaela.
I don't really have much to add to that. I'm pretty new to the evaluating. This is my second evaluation, so I certainly didn't look as in depth to the speech. I did notice that you could kind of see the nerves, but I wasn't. I mean, you guys have some pretty good insights on why that might have happened. So I don't have much to add.
Awesome. Thank you. Michaela, I really like the point about the incongruence between what she's saying and how she's saying it when you're saying breath work and relax, but you are not relaxed. I think that's definitely a big one to incorporate.
Because then she also said, let it sit, and then she just carried on talking. She didn't pause and be like, let it sit, and then breath work. So maybe if you point out those two proper things with her, because that's the only time when I know she's nervous, when her words don't match her actions.
That's a great point. Thank you.
Sure. Then on Julia, shame, I think she was also a bit nervous. That's why she wanted to go again second. I mean, I really enjoy how she breaks up her speech and starts it off like saying how she's a storyteller, and then she broke it off into how she's a traveler at all three different sections. And I thought that was a nice way, but then I kind of got lost a bit because she kept referring back to the storyteller. Which, I mean, I don't know if it's just maybe not necessarily a language barrier, but more just trying to articulate herself, because she says she sometimes can say really lovely, beautiful sentences, and then I think she doesn't have the confidence in herself, and then she shortens her sentences, and then like when she says a flower on my head, beach, like she could have made it a longer, more beautiful sentence. But I mean, her pauses and stuff, I think she's really good at that, except that she uses them maybe a bit too often, and then it drags out the speech a bit. But again, I'm not sure if this is a language barrier. And I think that the points that she always loves to use her props, which is really cool and engaging, but I think that sometimes if it doesn't go right, then it brings in nerves. So I want to suggest to her if she perhaps stacked all the props, so the hats would go in the order, and then she put them all on her head and be like safari, and then this, and then the flower. So then it would like open up, because rather than wearing it the whole time, then it's all there all together, and then the story can flow. And then this is the first time like her speech, one of her speeches weren't as humorous as they normally are. So I think again, nerves, but that's also a lot to speak to me because I'm always nervous for these things. But then she says also, yeah, she seems to be always like, she wasn't necessarily looking at the audience, it was like looking down at the camera a bit. I think her notes are the same as you picked up with Shireen, perhaps just to put them a bit higher. Then she often holds her hand here. She's good at her hand gestures, but when she's not using them, she has little T-Rex hands. So I mean, it's perhaps fine in when you in person, but in the computer, I mean, just like talking a bit like this, so kind of it was distracting in my case and just brought a little bit of humor, but for the wrong reasons. And then I think that's about it. I'm not sure if you guys picked up, also the way she when she turns, when she talks about something and then goes perhaps into the different kind of the story, she could have like turned as if she was now stepping into that role, and then turned as if she was stepping into the role, use her space a bit more, rather than just that. But yeah, that's as much as I picked up on. Not sure if you have anything to add to be helpful.
The one thing, and you mentioned it as well, that I noticed was sometimes her pauses, they just didn't seem they didn't flow. It was like she was trying to pause and I couldn't tell if it was she'd lost her spot in her notes or she was setting a pause, but it just didn't, like, it kind of broke up the speech too much for me. That was really the only thing that I noticed. Other than it, I did enjoy it. I loved the kind of structure, over exaggerating, maybe that's the wrong word, but what traveling is, to be the before travel, the during travel, and the after travel. I loved that idea. The pause, and I could guess she did seem nervous, but that's normal.
I agree. I think you've both named pretty much everything. I'll just add one positive thing, that being new to hearing her speak, I felt like her topic and her delivery was really aligned to her personality. So she didn't feel like she needed to pigeonhole herself into, this is the structure I'm going to go on. So she kind of took us on a voyage like the speech was talking about. And I really liked the kind of allusion to speech making and Toastmasters, where first it leaves you speechless and then you're a storyteller. So I thought there was a pretty little metaphor, whether it was intended or not.
100%. I also enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Those are important notes. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So for me, I could definitely probably use you guys' support in this, just because I felt a bit not intimidated evaluating Michelle, but her speech was very, very good. And I'm pretty new to evaluating. So I got a lot of good things. Her intro I thought was very well done. She said, welcome Toastmasters and welcome fellow guests, but she said that after kind of bringing us in, then she associated with the audience and then flowed that into a little story. And then her metaphors and her word choice throughout the entire speech was amazing. Clearly, I don't have the same level of word choice because I'm just going to use amazing for how good it was. I could tell she'd practiced it and prepared it very well. She was able to move through it well. And she's not a very all over the place person, but I do think she did a good job for the type of person she is. There was vocal fluctuation, there was hand gestures, but they weren't distracting. So that was what I had on the positive side. The only cons, I guess, that I wrote down, are areas that she could improve, where I could tell she was reading the speech, or at least that slightly distracted me. And she could have either moved her notes so that it was closer to the actual camera, I think, which is something one of you guys mentioned, or one of you ladies mentioned, or that she could have a little bit, and I guess this just comes back to, do you memorize your speech or do you I guess, know your speech and then tell stories with it. Like, I think it could have maybe helped me focus more on the content if it was a little bit less like rehearsed, but I don't know if that makes sense. And then the other thing is, I know she had the story right in the beginning, and then there wasn't really another story after that, which I think if she had illustrated her point with a story, that could have made it a little more memorable. Yeah, so that was what I had. I don't know if you guys can help me add to that.
Some good points. Chantal, I'm not sure if you want to go first.
No, go ahead, Michaela.
Yeah, I mean, very good points. A lot of stuff I didn't pick up, so yeah, don't be so hard on yourself with the evaluations. I enjoyed some her uses of alliteration. She was quite good at that, like sultry sounds and and also her metaphor crocheted blanket called life. Like, I think that was really a nice little neat way to end it up. And then my only thing would be that shake, rattle, and roll. You could see that she tried to sing it to get people to recognize what the song was, but I mean, she definitely has the confidence that she could have done it a bit more, but that's literally my only critique.
Okay.
Yeah, Daniel, you really had a tough, especially for a second evaluation. This is a tough one to do because that was a great speech.
Yeah.
I agree with all of the points that you've mentioned. The feedback point that I would have had for her would have been around eye contact as well, because she's clearly a consummate speaker, so she could afford to rely a little less on the notes or to work on the placement of them. I think the alliteration was my favorite too, Michaela. Yeah. Flying free, and the really provocative little expression she used, untamed women. That was my favorite. That was really painted a picture and really drew us in, especially since she didn't start anywhere in the region of rock and roll when she began the speech, but kind of took us there really quickly. And I think that's the mark of a great storyteller, is when you follow them around, believing whatever story verse you find yourself in, regardless of where you were 5 seconds previously. And it felt seamless when she did. So for me, it was really around the eye contact piece. And yeah, Michaela, I'll take your word for it in terms of connecting a little more with how she came across. But I think your point was a great one, Daniel. I've met her once, and I know that she has high levels of energy. So focusing it in the way that she did was really effective.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right.
This break room.
Yes. I think we're good to just jump back into the main room.
Awesome. Do we just click leave room?
Oh.
Hi, just checking if everybody's good here.
Yes, we were just about to jump into the main room.
Okay, you still have 2 minutes. So.
All right, well, I'll do that for a very quick break.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
That we tour.
Yeah, there's always a lovely lesson from Paul, always, which is great. Awesome. We've got 1 minute to go, and then we are back to experience the whole next round of Toastmasters.
So speech will be more figures and digits, so I will put something on paper. It will be additional speech, but it will be more a lesson in real estate that I want to share with you, and with a lot of figures and numbers, and I will try to make it attractive than really storytelling, but I think it might be worthwhile to share with people. I believe the more you share, the more you don't lose anything out by sharing this to other people. That's my thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Michelle, something?
Excuse me?
May I just make a comment before we go in?
Of course, with pleasure.
Just to say to all the visitors tonight, the standard of speeches tonight are excellent. And as a newbie to the club, don't let these amazing ladies put you off. They are inspiration. They set the bar very, very high. We also have gentlemen that set the bar very, very high. So I've only done one speech on Toastmasters, my icebreaker, but I am in Cape Town visiting But I'd like to encourage all of you, normally I'm only on Zoom, just to stay and come as often as you can to this club, because it is life-changing. So whatever your field of work is, you're going to get something from these inspirational speakers, and from our wonderful Gabrielle and Verity. So thank you. Stay inspired, be benign, and be gentle.
Lovely.
Wow, Libby, thank you for sharing so gently too. I think perhaps your next role could be Toastmaster for an event. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you all found your dogs and their tails were wagging with your gentle voices. We also mixed 3 dogs. Hey, Nick, I mean, there's quite a few there.
Yeah, 3 for them.
Great. So welcome back. I hope everyone enjoyed the new way we did evaluations. I hope it was insightful. And I will hand over to our wonderful Toastmaster, John. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Now, I forgot to have everyone vote for best speaker before the break. So we're going to take a minute and do it right now, if that's okay, Nick. Has everyone had a chance to vote?
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Okay. Chantel, would you like to go next and provide us an evaluation?
Sure, thank you so much, John. And good evening again, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially to Shireen. And Shireen, this is one of those few times when I'd wished that there was a little more space on those evaluation forms, because there was so much to talk about in the speech you just delivered. What a pleasure it was listening to you. I earlier this week listened to one of the Big Think videos that was speaking about the downside of mindfulness, chatter, and how it can lead to catastrophizing and being stuck in a really negative place. And this speech just felt like the antidote to all of that. From your really engaging animated opening and the way you really connected with us in terms of what it was you were sharing being energetic and important, to the really salient reminder that gentleness isn't fragile, and that even though we may think that this is a really nebulous thing, mindfulness and being kind to yourself and happiness, it's actually pretty something you've got to really go for. It's not something that you can really just hope will come to you. I thought that your use of your space was really impactful when you leaned in especially and created that intimacy with us when you were asking a question and punctuating things. And there were also moments where you had really powerful, for example, the expansive gesture you made when you were speaking about embracing your dreams. The content for me was the absolute gem of the entire thing, creating that acronym and taking us on that journey in terms of how all of the advice that you were giving really supported this thread, that this is something you are in control of. So you need to curate, take responsibility, evolve, assess, take action, and evaluate. I feel really effectively coached listening to you. And you closed with some really great tips for how we can bring these things into our lives and into our spaces in a really intentional way. So overall, it was a really fantastic delivery and really great content. In giving you feedback, I'm going to couch it through the lens of what you shared, that this is a speech that you're developing for a keynote. And so I'm going to try to make sure that what I'm sharing in terms of how I feel you could have improved the delivery will impact you in that space also. So firstly, one thing that might have helped with the connection piece with the audience, because you had those leaning in moments and you had some really engaging content, would have been to really emulate the eye contact a little more intentionally. And whether that's by raising your notes a little higher or having a little less content in there so that you can keep track of what it is you want to say, I thought that might have been supportive of that. But that leads me to the second point, which may have been down to it being a keynote and you trying to get it all across in a 5 to 7 minute speech where you would probably have longer. And that's about your pace and your pause. So you shared a few things that it would have been really great for me to sit and reflect with. And if you had been able to slow it down when you did those things, I think I may have been able to connect more deeply with it. Because in some instances, you're trying to move along with the pace meant that some of your gestures were a little more emotive than you might have wanted them to be, and not always congruent with what you were saying. So you spoke about, we've got to be gentle with ourselves. And I loved it in terms of the contrast and the almost juxtaposition of the firm way we need to do it, even though we're talking about gentleness, but just being mindful so you can keep it aligned in a more intentional way. Overall, a beautifully structured speech, really powerful content, and really well delivered. It was a pleasure listening to you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Next, Michaela, would you like to provide us with an evaluation of Julia, please?
Of course. Thank you, John, and all fellow Toasties, guests, and of course, Julia. I'm so glad I got to evaluate you. You are a natural born storyteller. You took us on a real journey, and it's actually made me a bit more excited to travel rather than just focus on the planning to travel. I completely forgot why I'm going, and you literally just reminded me that it's all in the experience from the moment you leave, during and after. You never come back the same. So I really love how you pulled that together in your speech, broke it up, separated, and it just flowed really well. Especially how you started saying you would want to invite us. That was lovely, because then it instantly got my attention, even though I was obviously aware. But when you invite someone in, then people are more inclined to listen, because it's almost like you're telling us a secret. You are very good at your pauses. Just this time, I think sometimes they were a bit too long. I'm not sure if it was maybe that you lost your space, or you're trying to remember your speeches, because I feel that you don't necessarily learn your speech off by heart, which is really good. You speak from the heart. And I really enjoyed that, but make sure it doesn't collide with your pauses. And then you have a really good gesture of hands, but sometimes it's a bit awkward, and I'm also at fault of this, when we're on Zoom and we hold our hands a bit close to us, and then we think that we're making these gestures when all you're seeing is little T-Rex hands. So it's something that I've been made aware of, and perhaps that's something that you could maybe be aware of as well. And also maybe if you stand a little bit back and then pivot your body, taking us from the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I think that that could be a nice way to just sync everything together. Then already, when you said, for example, making the choice, but I'm already happy, you didn't kind of show your reaction that you were happy. You were more just stagnant. So perhaps use more emotion towards that. And then to challenge yourself a bit more, I love that you always use props. It definitely keeps people engaged and gets me excited, because I'm more of a tangible learner. But just to help you perhaps in terms of nerves or whatever preparation, if you knew which order the hats were going in, perhaps stack them so that when you put them all on together, you can be like, and in safari, and here I am, and now on the beach. And then you take us, so it will add some humor to it as well, which you're really good at. But overall, like I said, yeah, you transported me, you made me want to travel, definitely a goal of your speech. So thank you so much, and well done.
Thank you, Michaela. And Daniel, would you like to go next with an evaluation of Michelle? And you can sing your evaluation in Elvis style if you would like.
Not only was Elvis Presley the king of rock and roll, but apparently he is a model for benign leadership. Michelle, your speech was amazing. I really struggled to find problems in your speech, and I was a little worried, but once I jumped in the breakout room, it was confirmed by some more seasoned evaluators that they also struggled to find any issues with your speech. You started out with a beautiful, beautiful introduction. You, in like 20 seconds, brought us in, then connected with the audience, and then began a really good story. Now, an area where you could have grown, you had a great story in the beginning, but I really would have appreciated maybe some more details or some more stories, maybe a story about Elvis himself that really connected the points you were making with what you were talking about. I think that could make it a little more memorable And it could have been something that might stay in our minds longer if you told a specific story more overarching throughout. Now, another thing that I'm sure everyone in the audience realized was you are an incredibly articulate and gifted writer and speaker when it comes to your word choice, your metaphors, your analogies. I think there was even a small statement you made about women in there that maybe made a couple people in the audience blush. You interacted very well using alliterations that drew us in, that, you know, this flowery, I don't have any of them written down. I'm sorry, I probably should have grabbed a couple, but you had amazing alliterations, you had amazing metaphors, and I could tell that your speech was very well practiced. You knew what you were doing, you had a plan for everything. But one other area that you could possibly grow in a bit would be being a little bit more or a little bit less looking like you were reading your notes. And I think you could just simply move your notes closer to the camera on Zoom. I think oftentimes when we're on Zoom, we're looking at ourselves, but the camera is just a little bit more elevated. So if you have your notes down below you right here, then it kind of, you can tell that someone is reading. So that could be another area that you could grow, or even adding a little bit less notes and just a little bit more knowing what you want to say, but not necessarily having it all written down. And then again, I really actually enjoyed your body language, your gestures, your vocal fluctuation. From knowing you in person, you're very energetic and happy, but you do not overdo it in the video. You do a very good job of not moving too much, not moving your voice up too much or down too much, but when you're excited, we can tell, but you're not overdoing it. So I really thought you did a fantastic job of that. And all around, this is one of the best speeches that I've heard in a long time. I think we all loved it. And we got both, you did an amazing job of bringing Elvis Presley in a place we wouldn't expect him to be, but it worked out wonderfully. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. Now we will be doing a vote for Best Evaluator. Has everyone had a chance to vote? Okay, thank you, audience, for being very benign with me with my forgetfulness about certain things. And one of the things I forgot was to let our timekeeper introduce herself at the beginning of the meeting and let you know what her role is. But now she's up and she will tell you about how long people took. Janet, you're next.
I believe you're muted, Jen.
Good evening, everyone. As timekeeper, it is my duty to record all the speeches, time speeches of each speaker. So for Shireen, I wasn't able to take it because I was drawn to her speech. But with Julia, she had 7 minutes and 30 seconds. We have 30 seconds grace period, so she speak within the limit. And Michelle, she had 6 minutes and 30 seconds. For our evaluators, for Chantel, she had 3 minutes and 24 seconds. The same thing, we have a great grace period. And Michelle, she had 2 minutes and 41 seconds. Daniel, you had 3 minutes and 10 seconds. That's all my report for today. Back to you, Madam, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Janet. And next we're going to do table topics. Claire is our table topics master for today. Claire, since we have so many visitors, do you want to explain a little bit first about what table topics is and make it sound like it's not scary for them?
Yes, thanks very much, John. So table topics, the purpose of it is really just to help us learn to speak without preparation. And we get put on the spot a lot in life, whether it's at work or in social situations where somebody suddenly asks you for your opinion. So table topic is all about helping you become more comfortable being given a topic or asked for your opinion on a topic and being able to speak. So for our guests, the tip that I learned very early on in Toastmasters with the speaking off the cuff is tell them what you're going to tell them. So I'm going to talk about cats. Then tell them. So this is why I like cats, because they are A, B, and C. And then tell them what you told them. So I explained to you 3 reasons why I liked cats. And that's really a very simple way to think about the topic. So when we give the topic, take a moment to think about it if you need. You can repeat the question. That also helps buy you some time. And if you really can't relate to what the person's asking, you can do the politician's trick. Is just change the topic. Or focus in on, like, for instance, when I was in England, they had a football club called the Seagulls. Now, if anybody asked me about football, I wouldn't know what the hell to talk about. I talk about flying rats instead, which are seagulls. So those are some great tips on table topics. The timing is 1 to 2 minutes. So the objective is just to try and see how long you can speak on the topic. So this evening, the topic was the value of gentleness. And when I typed into Google about the value of gentleness, I came along, the first thing was a gentleman's site. His name is Robert Ferguson. And it said, as a differentiating value, gentleness means even-tempered, considerate, honorable, and strength under control. And I think John alluded to that about the strength under control. And he gave 10 ways that we can practice gentleness. In this particular context, he made it in within marriage. So I've changed it to just loved ones in general, whether it be somebody, family, children, other people that you live with, and all that kind of thing. So I've got his 10 tips. And so each person can then choose a number. I will read the advice that he gave, and you can say whether it resonates, whether you've experienced that or you've experienced the opposite, just basically what comes up when you hear this particular statement. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So now we need to have some volunteers. Don't all raise your hands at once. Yay, Mina. If you can give me a number from 1 to 10.
10.
10. Right. So he says, gentleness remains ever present, even if it's never acknowledged. So gentleness remains ever present, even if it's never acknowledged. And I put it in the chat as well.
Yeah, way back into Karma, can I start?
Yeah.
Okay. Way back in 2020, when I was affected with COVID, I had seen people, nurses, doctors dressed up in gowns, and they treated every patient like it's their family member. Away from my family, when I was there all alone with no friends, no relatives, no parents around me, every doctor, every nurse came to me, they smiled at me as though they had known me from a very long time. Unfortunately, I could not see their face either, but they had a gentle touch on me each time to give medication or to tell me how I am doing, or at least even to try to call up to my parents and tell how is my health going on. So that is something which we never acknowledge. Neither could I see the face behind the gentle touch, but I could feel it, and it helped me to recover. So just a minute. So I believe that gentleness is something, it's always behind the screens. We can never see it or acknowledge it, but it is always there. So thank you. Over to you. clarity.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mina. Yes, that's a very important one, because when we're in a situation where we're not feeling so well, we definitely need lots of tender, loving care. And I'm glad that they could give you that. And I believe that Matt was interested in doing a table topic. Matt, what number would you like?
Good
1 to 9.
I'll take number 6, please.
Number 6. Gentleness uses light humor to diffuse tense moments. Gentleness uses light humor to diffuse tense moments.
Okay. Gentleness uses light humor to diffuse tense situations or moments. One of my absolute favorite tools to calm myself down in an incredibly tense situation, when I start taking myself too seriously or I start getting concerned about what other people are thinking about, is to bring a little humor in it, in terms of my self-talk. This has been one of the most effective strategies that I've found in order to bring myself to that grounded, light, flowing state where I can really connect with the topic and with the audience. I think humor is a fantastic way to bring a little lightness, especially into difficult situations where it could be challenging to communicate what it is that we're talking about. And that, 1 minute is done. That is why I think humor is I forgot even what the thing is about. Humor is a great tool to diffuse tense moments. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thanks very, very much. And I see our next person, Paul, has his hand up. Paul, which number would you like?
I would like to take number 2, please.
Number 2. Gentleness is honoring the free will of your loved one, but does not join in just to placate them. Gentleness is honoring the free will of the loved one, but does not join in just to placate them.
Well, I think that's a great saying. Between one, there must be no competition. There must be complementarity and no competition. And I believe that, you need to take the person you love the way she is. Don't try to transform her, because she will rock the world. And really, you have to speak from your heart. You have to understand her. There is a good book about, I think, the women are from Venus and the men from Mars. And there are good stories in that book. And I believe that when I married her, I just want to sculpture her to the goals that I had in my life and to her goals, to match both goals. But then you see that when you're growing a little bit wiser, not older, but wiser in life, you understand a little bit more about life, and you have to put a little more water into the wine. But don't put too much water in the wine, otherwise it becomes vinegar. So avoid to be becoming vinegar, but really try to complement and really also be strong in what you want. Because it's also important that the person understands you and you understand the person. It becomes even more difficult when there are siblings, and we got 5 of them, because it's not only the wife, it's also the kids you have to understand. And you become wiser with the day. One thing I can tell to all the parents around, or maybe the future parents, or the person who wants to marry for the first time, you don't need to have a degree to marry the first time. They never asked me a degree to be a father. They never asked my wife a degree to be a mother. Just do the best way you can and that's it, and not more. The more you feel, the more happier you should be, because at least try to do your best. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Wonderful. Thanks very, very much, Paul. And then I see Iman, you are keen to speak. Which number would you like?
Number 1, please.
Number 1. Number 1 is gentleness is choosing to address difficult issues during the day instead of at night. Gentleness is choosing to address difficult issues during the day instead of the night.
All right. I feel like that kind of echoes our intentions behind being gentle and our purpose to be kind to people or to things that we care about. One of the things that I'm personally really invested in is to look at how effective can I be when I do things. For example, we could want to militate for things such as, having no poverty in the world, or making sure that people are cured from preventable diseases or something. But sometimes while we have the motivation to do good, we don't really know how to translate it into being the most effective intention. So I believe that with the same resources to do good, we can actually extend these resources to have a higher impact. And yeah, so I feel like to do things in the day kind of equivocates our forwardness and our initiative to actively put the effort into being more impactful, while I don't know, maybe like that might be a bit far-fetched, but doing it in the night might equivocate the sentiment of, just doing it because we feel like we just fulfill the intention, but are we really doing it justice?
Very good. Thank you very much, Iman. And Libby, which number would you like? You're on mute.
Is number 7 available?
Yes, it is. Gentleness protects vulnerable spots, but addresses the hurt that needs healing. Oh, sorry, I've lost my chat. Sorry. Gentleness protects vulnerable spots, but addresses the hurt that needs healing.
Gentleness protects vulnerable spots, but addresses the hurt that needs healing. So often in life, the things that we are most uncomfortable with, we push down deep into our souls. But the body keeps score. And that negative voice in our head is going to try and keep pushing it down and making us feel guilty, making us feel vulnerable. But if we can truly remember what it feels like to be soothed as a newborn baby, as a little toddler that has fallen and been picked up by a mum or a dad and hugged, we can remember what it feels like to be gentle and kind to ourselves. Because we do not remember what people say to us. We remember how people make us feel. So why do we not remember how to make ourselves feel? Why do we not remember to wrap ourselves in a soothing muslin cloth or a warm, fluffy blanket and just breathe and tell ourselves, you're okay. You're okay just as you are, and heal ourselves and love ourselves as we are. Because at the end of the day, gentleness, the mother's love, the Father's love is the thing that brings the greatest joy into our hearts. And we're all born with that true essence. And we can remember it by just looking within and being gentle and kind.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Libby. And then Nicholas, you wanted to have a chance. What number would you like?
Sorry, did you say my name?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give it a go. I didn't put up my hand, but let's go for it. Number 9, if there's available.
Number 9. Gentleness takes time to consider all the facts, but is quick to ask for forgiveness. Gentleness takes its time to consider all the facts, but is quick to ask for forgiveness.
What do we do when someone breaks a glass? We blame. We go, you dropped my cup. You did that. You made me feel that way. And isn't that the first thing we do? We look to blame people. We look at the facts and look at the words and look at the proof to tell them how you feel, instead of simply saying, no, I felt like that and that situation happened. And don't look to the person on your left or the person who pushed your buttons. Rather look inside and say, oh, I felt this way because something triggered me. I felt this way because there's something that I don't agree with. Forgive. When you forgive someone, you're not forgiving them for what they've done, but you're forgiving yourself for things happening the way they would have happened anyways. Forgive. Trust me, it saves your own mind.
Thank you very much to everybody who participated, and I'm handing back to our Toastmaster of the evening, John.
Thank you, Claire. That was well done and fun. So Nick, are we ready to do a vote on Best Evaluator?
Best
Yes,
table.
yes. I've just added my name.
I'm sorry,
I'll
Best Table
launch it
Topics.
now. Table Topics, go for it.
Okay, are they all in?
Thank you. Yeah, we're done.
Okay, Jeneth, would you like to give us a timekeeper's report on the impromptu speeches, please?
I am benign to everyone who speaks because you are all within the time limit. So with Mina, she had 1 minute and 11 seconds. For Matt, you have 1 minute and 29 seconds. Paul, you had 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Iman, if I am pronouncing it correctly, you had 1 minute and 21 seconds. Libby, you had 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Nick, you had 1 minute and 10 seconds. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Jeneth. And Nick, would you like to give us the grammarian and listeners report?
Happy to. Let's start with who used the word of the day. John, you used it twice. Shireen once. Justine once. Daniel once. Nobody used it in the table topics, but that's okay.
I used it.
Oh, Michelle, yes, but I have more to say about you. So while you've got your hand up.
Benignity? Is that right?
So from a grammarian's point of view, I'm not just going to mention the word of the day, I'm also going to mention figures of speech and words and somewhere where we use colloquial language, which we frown upon at Toasted. So Michelle, you have a massive bank of words in your library. I don't know if you sleep under a dictionary, but between yourself, Chantal, and Shireen, I've learned words like salient. Sorry, this is Chantal, used words like salient, emulate, nebulous, curate, evolve. The words are just so rich. Michelle, you've mentioned words, alliteration like the power of presence, where you spoke about Elvis Presley. You do very well with using gestures by saying elbow away, goosebumps, shake and rattle, sway hips, snap fingers. It's so well done that it doesn't look fake. So keep that up. Moving on to Chantal, like I've said, one of the words that stuck out for me was a coach through. I'm going to give you comments from a coach through the lens that I saw you. Very well spoken there, because that's all it is when we evaluate. It's my perspective, my lens. Julia, I loved the personification of wearing the hats and the props. That was really nice. Shireen, you use onomatopoeia like airy fairy and woohoo. Also, you used a nice term about what happiness is. So you said happiness, what does it look like? What does it smell like? And what does it feel like? So it's quite nice to see happiness in the sense of it's something that my senses can feel. You also used an idiom where you said, I'm going to take a leaf from. It's something I don't hear often, but idioms are always nice. Another nice thing that Michaela said was, she said to Julia, instead of learning it by heart, you spoke from the heart. Such a beautiful, I also like the T-Rex hands. I mean, everybody knows what T-Rex hands are. And then she used the words like a tangible learner, which I think we all should be. And last but not least, Libby, you said the body keeps score. And that is so true. The body always keeps score. Okay, over to you. Thank you. Micromanage report.
Thank you, Nick. Paul, would you like to give us the counter report, please?
Yes, definitely. So I got Janet, I got 3 ums and 1 but. Shireen, in fact, not in your speech, but before you start with your introduction, you had 2 ums. John couldn't find anything. Michaela, 1 1 but. Daniel, 1 Michelle, 1 Gabriela, during the break, I don't know if I have to count it, but it's always difficult to talk to people spontaneously. But in fact, you broke the tonight. 13 ums, 3 add and 1 but. Chantal, very fluent, but I've 1 and 2. Michaela, during your evaluation, ums and 5 and. Then Daniel, 2 ums, 3 and 1 but. And then got Iman, 2 ums, 1 but and 1. Libby, 1 and that's it for my report. But just once again, the report is just to improve your skills, it's not to be with the hammer on you and to penalize you. Thank you, Madam Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Paul. Just to close out my role, I just wanted to mention that most of us in the romantic realm, we find gentleness very attractive. I'm in my 60s now, and unfortunately, a lot of my friends whose marriages haven't worked out, a recurring theme that I hear is, I thought that person would be gentle, but they weren't. And sometimes, especially guys, word it a little differently. They'll say it like, that person turned out to be mean. I thought I would just provide some advice from our local safe house for people who have been abused by their partner, because some people aren't very good at telling if somebody is going to be gentle to them in the long run. And the safe house has 3 or 4 things that you can look for. But the easiest one for me to remember is, when you're out with the person you're considering becoming intimate with, look at how they treat someone who can do no significant favors for them. Are they gentle with the wait staff? Are they gentle with the person that they meet on the street? If so, they'll probably be gentle with you. If they're mean and uncaring to the person they meet on the street or the wait staff, that's the way they will eventually treat you. And if you want to practice being gentle, because we can always be better at it, you can try practicing with the people who can't do anything significant for you. It's a fun way to practice. Anyway, so that's it for my role. Back to you, President Gabrielle.
First of all, I would like to thank John for a wonderful Toastmaster guidance, finishing off with guidance for all of us. We shall remember that. That was wonderful, John, of giving that from the safe house, that advice. We carry that in our lives. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank all role players. You have done an incredible, wonderful job. We said we would like a Toastmasters or as toasted. The TAD stands for education. The evaluators have been really from a high note of evaluation and giving such quality commentary where we can grow. I'm not the mother of the company, but I am so proud of what is coming out here. Such value. Wonderful, the role players. And thank you to all the other role players, because each of them has given a lot of insight. And Paul, you get a clap next time. I was speaking off your count, and very unfair to knock me down like that. I know I say too many and ahs. I would try to do my best, but yeah, you see. Thank you for that. And as well, thank you for all the table topics. Claire, beautiful choice you have made, and thank you for all the people who took part and elaborated on the thought and helped us as well to think a little bit deeper. We have Jen, our wonderful Jem. She is the VP of Education, or Vice President of Education. She is the one, together with Justine, who composed these amazing sheets of role where you can take your roles and write yourself down for the next one. I would like to ask Jen to please now come forward and speak about the next event, what she needs, what she has designed for you to take up. Jen, please, may I hand over to you. VPE Jen.
I'm back. I would like to thank everyone for I really would like to thank everyone who stepped up to take all the roles. And we will always have an exceptional and enjoyable meetings because of those who always step up. And I am encouraging everyone to step up and inspire all of us here and encourage those guests right now to join us. And I will always be chasing you for the incoming roles. So we will have our next meeting on August 2. Our meeting is first week of the month and second week of the month, and I will be chasing you again for the roles. Thank you. I really do appreciate for the inspiring messages and encouraging messages you have today. Good night.
Thank you, Jen. You're doing such a wonderful, wonderful job, and everything works so well thanks to that. Not last minute. It's always, we are always more relaxed knowing that the plan is made already by you. Thank you so very, very much. I would like to come to our guests. It's always an important part of the evening to know how you felt, whether you enjoyed yourself, whether you perhaps learned something, and most of all, whether you would like to come back and join this magnificent group of people. May I ask Shlemulo to come forward again and tell us how you enjoyed the night. Where is she?
She had to leave, Gabrielle.
Okay, okay, good. Then, Sivabatso, I have not seen you in the beginning. I did not look well enough. Are you here? May we have you highlighted? Come forward. Okay.
No.
Okay. Nina, you have spoken already so well, but now my eyes fall on your name again. May we have you back one day, and may you perhaps send us as well an invitation from your club so that we can join you.
Yes, Gabriel, yes, it was indeed a very great evening for me in India. It's a great night. It's almost 11. I thoroughly enjoyed every session. It was a great learning, and I definitely look forward to all of you to come to my club as well. And I also look forward for Duell membership. So I will try to reach out to, I'm not sure. I guess I'll reach out to you so that you can connect me. So thank you very much.
Wonderful.
That's wonderful news. Thank you so much. And you are hours ahead of us. You are into the new day already, I suppose. How many hours
Yes,
are you in front
it's
of us?
11:30. 30 minutes, we'll be into new day.
Okay, sleep well, and thank you for coming so late and staying up with us. Thank you so much, Mina. It's lovely to have
Thank you,
met you.
Gabriel.
Karine Earl, have you arrived now in front of your screen?
Hi, yes, I have, but I'm running I'm running around. It's a crazy evening. Sorry, Gabrielle.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed this a lot. It was the tabletop was absolutely daunting. That's when I have a total brain freeze. I can't think at all. So it would be a massive challenge for me to really to be able to just kind of be calm enough. So anyway, and I did enjoy the talks. I get the gist of it, and I think this is something. This is really something I need to do. I completely freeze up on stage, so this will be good for me.
I think you are in a very gentle environment to take you from step to step. And as I said to you earlier, or as I mentioned, we all have those moments of feeling a complete failure. And it's wonderful because there is a big family here who is holding you. You will find on the chat box, there's always something good one can find in every speech. And the only critic is oneself. So I hope that we can facilitate for you to be less of a critic of yourself, and you will enjoy yourself here so much. We stay in touch, and it would be wonderful if you like to join us forever. But be so welcome, everybody, to come as a guest until you feel safe enough to step forward and become a member. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabrielle. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much to everyone else as well. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
And that brings us now to the next point of the evening, the excitement of the awards. I brought this time my bell to make a little bit of a noise. And the first award goes to the best, and now slowly say it, the best table topic, or is it best? I need help here. With what do we start? Award time, right? Table topic, okay. And the first prize goes to Libby Edmonds. Well done, Libby. So proud of you. Such kindness, gentleness, warmth, and heart space, which always comes over from you. And the next one, please get ready for a round of applause for the best
Evaluator.
Come, my friend, Daniel. Evaluator. Ah. Head on head, Chantel, Ashley, and Daniel Hartlett. And Daniel is our Zoom master. A big round of applause as well for the best Zoom master. Thank you, Daniel. And now we come to the speeches. The best, now we come to the highlight of the evening, the best speaker. Michelle. Well deserved. What a talk you gave. I'm so happy to hear your wisdom, and I'm so happy you are my personal assistant. Thank you for what you have shared tonight with us. We wanted to introduce to you as well the idea of a question and answer session. Those of you who would like, after the closure now, to ask some questions about the club, you're very welcome. Our path finder and our, all the things which have to do with Toastmaster can be cleared perhaps here already. If there are too many questions, we keep them and do an extra session one other evening. But in case they're here or there, something unclear, please feel free afterwards and stay on, and we then from the committee try to help you further. My closing thoughts. I always say I encourage you to speak. And as you have just seen with Jen now, there is a possibility to write down your name far in advance already. Because to write a good speech, you need some time. One says the time management for writing a speech is 2 to 3 weeks minimum. And to improve your speeches, it is important that you take really a lot thorough time, and maybe, especially the ones on level 1, the new members, you will be equipped with a mentor. We have sent out a form and asked whether you would like to have a mentor, but it is important that somebody helps at the beginning to just set you on the road in case you feel insecure. Please, please make use of that. Our next meeting is a hybrid meeting. It will be in town again. All the guests are very, very welcome to meet us there and to speak in person. It is very valuable to stand in front of a live crowd. And we are a happy and very enthusiastic crowd there in the rooms. That will be on the 2nd of August. And then we have the next one in August on the 23rd. That is then online again, and we have a guest speaker. It is the former area director, and Terry Winship, and she will talk about how handling Zoom. That is probably a very interesting discussion for talk for many of us. Let me close with Maya Angelou. My mission in life is not only to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, compassion, humor, some style, kindness, and gentleness. I thank you all for a fantastic evening, for your authenticity, for the caring, for all the chats, for the support. You are just so wonderful. I look forward, and we all do, to meet each other again at the beginning of August. Have a wonderful evening, and who likes to stay on for some questions, you're very welcome. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Well done.
Thanks, everybody. Great job,
Beautiful
everyone.
meeting. Well done. Bye.
Good night.
Awesome.
Good night.
See you. Bye, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night,
Thanks.
Libby. Good
All the
night.
best, Libby.
Thank you so much.
Lauren H. would like to speak to Libby and Don.
Thank you, Gabrielle.
It's a pleasure.
Good night,
Lauren?
everybody.
Okay, I'm going out now.
Cheers, Julia. We see you soon. Julia, are you coming to our Women's Day event in August? If you're here.
You put it again to a date. It's the 20th, I think. I will be traveling. Oh, she's gone. Okay. Guys, see you on the 2nd, yeah? Have a lovely
All the best,
evening.
Julia.
Night.
And you enjoy your life. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Justine, for staying so motivating. You really, I love you stepping on toes and reminding people, me.
Is Lauren still here or has she left already? Ah, she has
Just
left. Ah, what pity. Okay, she
Bye,
wanted to
guys.
talk.
Cheer, everybody. See you.
Bye, Danielle.
Bye, Kavian. Thank you so much for coming. See you hopefully again.
I enjoyed it very much. Thanks.
Lovely. Thank you.